this is the time to do it. And I can still remember the first time coming into Nanaimo. The plane was coming into Comox Airport. And one of the things I loved about going back to Jamaica was when that plane started to land in Montego Bay and you look down and you see the beautiful Caribbean Sea spread out before you. And then you look in the lush trees and everything, and you get off the plane, you feel that wind, the warm Caribbean breeze. And the people are all, you know, you get the smiles at the airport and the friendliness. To me, that meant I was home. That for me was, I was home. That was home for me. And I remember coming into Comox and looking down, and the broom, I didn't know what it was. I just was in bloom, and it was absolutely beautiful. And you stepped off the plane and the breezes. I didn't know at the time that broom and my allergies did not belong together. And that it was not something that I was going to love. But it looked absolutely beautiful at the time, very deceptive, because I just thought, oh my, this is paradise for me. This is like Jamaica. And just driving in and the homes, you know, how in Jamaica the homes could be very colorful, you know, passed a lot of those. And I thought, yeah, this is it. This is home. This is where I want to stay. And I had a very different experience from George, because I guess a year and a half ago when I moved here, everyone was very friendly. And I kept thinking something's wrong with these people. You know, everybody seemed so nice. And like they knew you, they said hello to you. Coming from Toronto, you get on the transit system, nobody looks you in the eye. You know, nobody's gonna, if you smile at them, they think you want something. You know, so you don't have that connection. And it took me a long time to adjust to that, you know, and just, you know, realizing that, you know, they're just nice. I didn't feel like I stood out. I felt a part of the community. I felt welcomed, which was different from the experience I'd had in Toronto. So for me, that was very different here. It's just feeling welcome. And everything just kind of worked, and finding a job that, you know, that at first I started, you know, didn't want to do anything totally with my field, so I started working at Sears, because that was totally different from anything I'd ever done. And I did that for a few months, but then I missed what I used to do. I work with adults with developmental disabilities, and I really missed that. And then I started to look for a job in that field, and then started to meet more people and form more friendships. And then it really started to feel that this is home. And having my brother here, and his daughter, and spending time with Victoria, and watching her grow up, you know, it reminded me of the community that I grew up in. That's what Nanaimo did for me, this small town community. You can go downtown and you have, you know, the old city quarter where you can find all these different stores with all the, you know, with all these things from all over, and you have the different, I do miss the restaurants. Unfortunately. You can't just walk in anywhere and pick up Jamaican food, unfortunately. You're not finding that in Nanaimo. And my biggest worry when I was moving here was not about how I would settle or how I would fit in, but who was going to do my hair. For me, that was a big thing, because, you know, and my brother said, really? You may have to go to Victoria. Not Victoria, to Vancouver, you know, to get your hair done. And I thought, do I want to make that trip all the time? Because in Toronto, I went to the hairdresser every 2 weeks. I got my hair done. I never had to think about it. So before I came, I made sure I got braids put in that I knew I would have for a while, and I wouldn't have to think about it. And then, maybe by then I'd find someone to do my hair. And I got really bold. And every black person I saw who had their hair done, I would approach them and, where'd you get your hair done? Where did your hair? It was a great conversation starter. You know, I was no longer shy about talking to people, because you couldn't be. And, you know, found someone to do my hair. And that was a big relief, actually, to find someone to take care of my hair. And then everything else fell into place. You know, the jobs there, you know, you can find the job. And, you know, one of the places in Nanaimo that does, two places actually, that does, because I like having some of the Jamaican style food that I can cook and I can make some of the things, but to find some of the ingredients. And the Superstore became one of the best places to shop, because they have you can find just a bit of everything there that you need. You know, so it was great to discover the Superstore and being able to find akis in the can. I mean, I'm paying $10.99 per can when you can get it for $5.99 in Toronto, but I want it, so I buy it for $10.99 per can, you know, and for Walmart. I mean, I'm not the biggest lover of Walmart, but I can walk into Walmart and I can go down, the section where they have their hair care products, and I can find products that are specifically made for black hair. I can find packages of braids where I didn't think I'd be able to find that, and Walmart carries it, and it's the only place in Nanaimo I've found that does. So, there's something to kind of fill all those areas of need for me, and that made it feel more like home. But I went back to Toronto for Christmas, and it was interesting going back, because here I didn't think of myself as just, I didn't look around and see, I don't see that many black people around. I never really noticed, but I remember when I went back to Toronto at Christmas, and my mom had to stop at Walmart for something. They were open 24 hours. All I wanted to do was go home, but she needed to get something at Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, some things do not change. And we walked into Walmart, and I remember looking around, and I saw a black family over here. I saw a black couple over here. And everywhere I looked, there were black people around. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I don't see that in Nanaimo. I don't see a lot of people who look like me in Nanaimo. But I didn't really miss it before. But when I saw that, I realized, there is something that is missing. Because when I grew up, that was constant. When I was a child, that's all I saw around me. And in Toronto, there was always, you saw everyone represented. You don't see it as much here in Nanaimo. But that's part of me choosing to move here. I knew that I was not going to see that. But I've noticed over the last few months, I see more and more people of color around Nanaimo. As I drive around, I see that. I see more of a mix. I don't know if I'm noticing it more because I noticed it when I went to Toronto, so now I'm specifically looking for that, or if it's just there are more people moving here who are, and it's becoming more multicultural, but I am seeing more of that now in Nanaimo. Nanaimo is a city where you can be, I find, you feel more relaxed. You don't feel the pressures of, I found in Toronto that there was more of a pressure of being part of the crowd. It's harder to be who you are and to be, let's see how you put it, to be more of an individual, because you're so busy, you're so caught up in the traffic, getting back and forth, just doing the everyday, that you don't have time to stop and relax and to just enjoy. And I find I have more time for that here. And that's one of the things I love. I have more time for crafts. I have more time for family. I'm making more time because I found I was starting to fall in some of the old patterns and working a lot because, that's what I always did. But I'm finding now that I realize that I miss that and I want to have more of that time, and starting to do that, and I can do that, and leaving work and being able to drive down to Departure Bay Beach and watch a sunset or a sunrise. That makes it feel like home because that's something I used to do when I was a child growing up in Jamaica. So it's bringing the parts of the things that I loved the best when I was growing up and having them in my adult life now that I didn't even realize I was missing for all those years. That is why Nanaimo feels like home to me. That is why I feel like I belong. Growing up, because I grew up on a small island where everybody was the same, I never had the experience of racism as a child. I didn't even realize there was. Moving to Toronto, all of a sudden I realized that, yeah, you know what, I am different.